Heart Coherence Collaborative.
Yeah, welcome everybody, and welcome Kyle. It's great to have you here with us.
We have Kyle Cease with us.
This is actually a dream come true.
This is actually a dream come true. Yes.
I would love to hear you tell the story of how this all came about.
Okay. So I really have been a listener and fan of yours and read every book, done every course. I do AP. And at a certain point, I introduced you to everything, and we started doing Legos together, which are basically, it's like you're going into the future and remembering things as if they've already happened. So we started doing that about meeting Kyle and having on the Heart Coherence Collaborative.
Yep.
And then you can continue.
Yeah, so we were going into the future every day, imagining that we were meeting you. and since she was so passionate about meeting you, I added it to my mind movie. I saw you went on Dr. Kim's podcast. So I screenshotted a picture of you on Dr. Kim, and I put in my mind movie that I love doing heart coherence with Kyle Cease. And so, basically a couple of weeks go by, we continue to do the Legos. I'm watching my mind movie every day, and Dr. Kim reaches out to me out of the clear blue and says, I have a favor I need you to do for one of my friends. And I said, who? And she goes, Kyle Cease. And I said, well, I've been dreaming of meeting Kyle Cease now for about a year. Is there any way you could make that happen? And sure enough, she connected us, and here you are. So Leah and I are both here to advocate that your techniques work.
There's for the people watching that are, when we're talking about Lego, I'll never forget. I'm in the car with my friend Diego, and I'm on my way to an audition one day. And I was in my head about auditions. I used to act, and at the time I was in like a kind of an anxiety slump, and on the way to the audition, I decided to talk to him about the audition coming up as if it was past tense. Right. So on the way into the audition, I was like, do you remember when I went in there and just nailed it? I was so good. I was just in the pocket, and like the cast directors loved me. And he was like, I remember that. He goes, that was just so crazy, and we just kept talking about it like it happened. And then when I went to the audition, in my mind, it already happened. And it's a combination of like, when you hear envision something, that's cool. But anything in the future, you're like really kind of going, is this working? So half the time you're just putting out analyzing. But if you make a vision past tense, your mind stores it as fact, right? Because everything in your past is true to you. You can even be like, I had this miracle happen the other day, and it's just a fact because it's past tense. So that combined with ad-libbing is you creating, right? Yeah. So for people watching, this exercise has changed every aspect of my life. I can't tell you how many things in my life, career, relationships, money, everything has changed because of this exercise. So if we took like for a second, and by the way, I want to make sure I'm also acknowledging your wonderful story about us meeting. But if we're saying that exercise, I just want to throw in, imagine this podcast we're doing right now. Imagine it was a year ago. And if I was like, do you guys remember a year ago when we did that? And like 2022 was like the greatest year of your life. Like immediately the mind starts going, if it was the greatest, how did we make it that way? And
oh my God,
connecting those dots, right?
I remember that podcast, and it was so amazing, and all the incredible things that happened after that. And how we went, remember when we went to Colorado and all the fun we had?
Yes. Yeah. Yes. It was incredible, man. I just remember us creating so much impact, and so much in the whole world situation just shifted. There was so much awakening. There was just so much freedom. All people moving out of, control, manipulation, fear, were just, releasing it and, releasing that control and releasing everything. And we just all together went to a place of love, because that old dynamic, that third density dynamic just didn't work anymore. And so 2022, this last year, was like the greatest year of our lives. It was like the full awakening,
It was. And I remember people awakening around us, and it just spreading across the entire world. So
yeah, it was the greatest year. I remember it. So
I actually envisioned in the I Remembers we were doing, I actually envisioned that we would do a Lego. And that's just what happened. So why is that so powerful? Like what is it about the Lego that's so powerful?
Well, let's think of the energy that we usually have. When you have the energy of something you really want, almost all the time, it comes out of a fear. Like, I want to make money so I'm not broke, or so I'm not worthless, or so I'm not whatever my parents say. You know, whenever we even ask a question, how do I? That usually is, we don't know it. It's just a normal place we live, but it's not our highest truth. That how do I, what do I do? What's my purpose? These kind of questions that we have, they're implying there's a way to do it wrong. They're implying that, you know, you don't want to fail. That all exists in these questions. Like, I can hear in everyone's tone, you can almost feel the frequency of that panic. How do I get there? What do I do? Because if I don't, when I was 5, I wasn't enough in my childhood. Like, that's the voice that's running everything. And so when you are in a energy of have to or need to, you're really working from a place of fear, and it's not sustainable anymore. Like, if you were bullied in high school and you want to create a company to prove them wrong, fear is running that business. It's not your calling. Do you get what I'm saying? So it will have to fall eventually. So what Collego is amazing at is getting you to a place not only where the thing you want, you see it, but where you're on the other side of it, where it's not a big deal that you have it. So you're not at the frequency of it will make me more because I'm not enough. You're at the frequency of it's normal that it's here, and you actually lose your egoic need and desire. I mean, if you get really good at Collego, at one point you can actually trick yourself into that you have it. So you release the desire for it completely, and then it would much more likely show up because that's the vacuum you created. So it's a surreal exercise, because you're creating, like, if I was to ad lib 2022 as if it was past tense and said, I don't know, I just remember I'm on 75 hard right now, which is this 2 workouts a day thing, and I'm drinking water. And, you know, I started it a year ago. I was on day 27 during your podcast. And like, I noticed that what I was connecting to was my discipline, and I was connecting to my core. And this caused me to understand I'm here to connect to me more than I am about anything on the external, and bring that connected me that has never really fully existed into the world. As I'm saying that, I'm saying it as if it happened. So my mind is creating that happen. You can do this with anything. Anyone watching, you can do it with how you changed your career, how you brought in, the difference between, I wonder if I could bring in a bunch of money versus here's how I made $10 million last year. Your mind has to fill that gap. I made $10 million last year. And the mind's like, how did, like, in a good way, it's like, it fills that.
Yeah.
Right. So if you're saying like, you know, what we usually do is we go to this complain vibration, like, I had the crappiest day, and then the mind goes, let's tell them why, because someone cut me off, and then there was no ink in the pen, and then I got audited, whatever. But if you're like, I had the greatest day yesterday, the mind does the exact same thing. It goes, how? And it brings and fills this thing in. The real power is when you keep doing it, and you get that it's not even about the thing you're wanting to manifest. You know, we're not nearly as excited about Bob Ross's paintings as Bob Ross. Like, the guy that's painting is what's amazing. And you got to get that everything you hope to manifest, it came from you. Like, every dollar you've ever made came from you. So you got to get more excited about you than the thing you want, because it's the source of what made it. And our problem is, every time we think something outside of us is our God, then we're saying I'm not, that I'm in lack. So this exercise helps you start kind of Trojan horsing you into your talents by you saying all the things that you want as if they're past tense, and how you had an amazing family and you had this incredible life and health and everything. But after a while, you kind of leave the desires for things and just hear creativity coming through, and you're painting your life just to paint. And you start to have these revelations, like, what would 2 more hours in a row of this do? And what would happen if, you know, people give 40 hours a week to a job they hate? What if I did this for 40 hours a week? You'd go into a frequency where anything you want would happen, but it starts to even leave the separate self. you start saying these things like, and then I realized all was just me, and there was no problem at all, and everything was just what it. Then you'll notice right after you do that, the world just adjusting so quickly, because you're at this frequency that you can put yourself to. I mean, complaining, and what we usually have, is the negative version of Collego. Right. Yeah. That, oh God, it's going to be the worst day of my life. You know, like, you're almost past tense futuring the negative. And so using this is just choosing to steer it in how you want. And it's pretty crazy how far it goes. I mean, I've done it a lot. I've done it more than anyone probably because I'm the creator of it, but at the same time,
I'm catching up.
yeah, no, I mean, it's a world-changing thing. You do go, okay, if that's what happened with you guys. What happens if you did do it 40 hours a week? And people are like, well, I got to make money. I'm like, you don't think you'd make money doing this? You don't think you'd do everything, you know? So I'm not saying everyone has to do 40 hours a week. I'm just saying you have an invincibility available for you if you choose it.
Everybody go and do this 40 hours a week. I will say, I have a buddy that's probably watching, and I call him every morning and we do Kai Legos. And for a week we couldn't do it. And I was like, oh my gosh, I need my Kai Legos. So it's very powerful. And you know, I encourage everyone to actually try it. Don't try it 40 hours a week, but just give it a go and see what happens. You'll be amazed what shows up in your life.
You know, and eventually you can even Kalego in a good way, the fall apart of the negative things in you. Like then I fell in love with my shame until it was dissolved. And then you know what I mean? And then I remember.
Ooh.
I actually want to ask you a question on this because that's something that's come up for me lately as something that I'm looking to work on. I historically, throughout my whole life, whenever negative emotions come up, I will basically look to my external environment to blame and pinpoint a reason why it's coming up.
Yes.
Say, you caused this to happen.
Yes.
And then as a result of that, I'll try to retreat or I'll run from the situation. And I'm getting unwanted outcomes. And so what is the importance, in your opinion? What advice would you give to somebody on welcoming that darkness?
So imagine if my 4-year-old daughter came in here and said, I feel unseen. And I said, well, let's go run next door and put some makeup on you and tap dance in front of the neighbors and get them to see you, versus me just loving her.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
When you're feeling off, you have an inner child that feels unseen. And the second we go to the reason, we're leaving the inner child. Right. So if I said, this guy here is sad, and this guy here is sad because someone cut him off on the way to work. This person, we're going to be with what he feels. This person, we're going to talk about the dude that cut him off.
Right.
Right. And so what I've done, you know, for many, many years is I've discovered that the feeling actually is its own entity. And our problem is trying to figure out where it came from, because that's the escaping of the feeling. So instead of just sitting and being okay with feeling whatever, shame, lost, abandoned, scared, uncertain, confused, abused, whatever, because that exists in the body. And by the way, the other reason why not to go to the reason is because it's not the reason. In other words, things that trigger you don't trigger everybody, right? How come a different president would trigger one person and a different person, right? Well, this Donald Trump triggers this person and Joe Biden triggers this person, but this person's fine with Biden, whatever. You start to understand, okay, the factor is not the outside. They trigger things that are unseen from before them inside of you, right? And I've in the last 2 years, I've worked with over 1,000 people in the one-on-ones and then also our membership site. And every single person, everyone we worked with, we tracked what their problem was before it, right? So we see it's not that. And then the next level of the ego is immediately digging to what it was before to escape the feeling. But the funny thing is if you start to connect to presence, like I meditate over an hour a day and listen, you start to become the safe space for a lot of this stuff to be revealed to you. With all of the addictive things we have, like Netflix and flipping through Facebook, whatever, these things are designed in a way to keep us from being present with what we feel. And what we don't get is if we're present with it long enough, we actually understand and can forgive a story from the past. And that pain inside actually permanently leaves. And then all of a sudden, the things that are current that are triggering it don't trigger it anymore.
Yeah.
And so if you have something that's bothering you, instead of saying that, you use it for a trigger for a second, like that's so annoying that whatever.
Yeah.
You want to say one that you have? Like, is there a thing that is at the level you want to? If it's personal, I get it. But if you have a thing that's triggering you right now, I can show you.
Yeah, I'll say I'm so annoyed that my family always thinks something's wrong with me.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like they'll reach out to me and basically say like, what's wrong? Like, and I'm like happy. And so when they say that, it makes me feel like
Yes.
bad. So I'm like, why do you guys come at me like that?
Yeah. So imagine, let's use that example again. Imagine my 4-year-old daughter says, someone over there
Yeah.
says something's always wrong with me.
Mm.
And imagine me sitting with her, or imagine me going, well, let's prove them wrong.
Yeah.
We need to prove to them, because wouldn't me saying, let's prove them wrong, actually start to make her think maybe something is wrong?
Mm.
Do you get what I'm saying? Like, we got to convince them, like, I see what they're saying. Let's, you know what I'm saying? Like, it doesn't matter until those people that said that see it.
Right.
Versus if I'm just present with her, because that trigger in you implies you feel that way. And also it implies you don't know that you've created an unnecessary middleman for you to be seen.
Mm-hmm.
Instead of you just being with this child that wants to be seen by you, every time the child says something to you, you turn to your family and try to get them to see it. Now, your family comes from a different time and a different consciousness and has different awareness. So they're different people that might not be able to see what you're bringing to the world, who you truly are. This happens to almost every light worker, any person that's doing any real inner work. Most people aren't on that same consciousness. That'd be me being like, I'm not seen until my friend's cat gets me. Well, it has different wiring. It doesn't have the ability to but if I was like, I'm not enough until the cat acknowledges me, I've created this middleman that's total bullshit. And we as a society have normalized, you're not seen until someone you know, your spouse, your partner, your friend, your parents understand you. And they come from a lower consciousness too. Like look how fast technology's moved since the 60s. Let's really think about this. Like in the 80s, we had that rotary phone thing. Now you have an iPhone 13 Plus, Pro, Max, whatever, right? So imagine an iPhone 13 trying to be seen by a rotary phone. Right? It doesn't have apps. It doesn't upgrade. It's still plugged into the wall. It has no idea what you're talking about. And it's speaking in terms of a frequency that make no sense. So if technology can move that fast, so does consciousness. And the awareness of the world 30 years ago is nothing like now. And even though you might look at this time and go, no, everything's falling apart. Well, that's actually because all of our darkness that was buried very well 30 years ago, it's the same government as in the past. We just now see more and more who they are, right? These things that were buried are now coming to light. The truth is our awareness is getting so high that the highest consciousness is now holding a light for the darkness too. So do you get what I'm saying? So there used to be the highest frequency was think positive, but the positive is pushing down everything you perceive as negative, right? So imagine the light's too big to only think positive, to shove the negative down to get out of it. In other words, now your presence, instead of getting to the high of hitting jackpot or getting millions of dollars, the highest high you can have is here now. And this here can hold space for both the highs and the lows, and then transcend the lows and the highs, believe it or not, into the here. Does this make sense? I'm all over the place.
So what I heard you say, and first off, I just want to say I love my family. But when they come, and say this situation where it's like basically, what's wrong with you? Why are you not this way? And it, instead of like being like, I'm fine, just be here and love that inner child.
Well, think about this. Okay, so let's say, who's the family member that says that it's the biggest trigger? Mom?
Probably my dad.
Dad? Okay.
Yeah.
So dad says this thing. I want you to hear him say it and then notice what you feel. In fact, take a deep breath in.
Yeah.
If you want, and close your eyes. And I want you to hear him say that to you. And then I want you to be present for what that feels like for a second.
It makes me feel angry.
Okay. So I want you to say this to the body. You're going to say this to the energy in your body, because the anger's inside. Did you notice, by the way, you felt angry when you pictured dad saying it, but your actual dad isn't here.
Yeah.
So you have an avatar of your dad in your head that isn't your dad.
Mm.
That's who your problem's with, by the way, not your actual dad.
Yeah.
Yes.
And by the way, he can only trigger a smaller avatar of you that are both contained inside of your body,
Mm.
right?
Yeah.
You're
Yes.
just sitting here.
I'm
So
crazy.
there's a small you. It's almost like you have like a diorama. Remember diorama where you take a shoebox and you'd have like the little people inside. So you're the whole box,
Mm.
right? And you think you're the little avatar of you that's in the box who's reacting to this thing. So a voice in your head said to another voice in your head that are all inside you while you're just the dude sitting there, that you're not enough. Now, the first thing to notice is that it's a thought that said it, not dad,
Mm.
right?
Mm.
So that's the first thing.
Yeah.
Second, I want you to say to the energy in your body that's you thought was you, but maybe is a false you. Say this to the energy. You're allowed to feel angry in my body.
Mm. Yeah. Mm.
You can even say it out loud, right? You can say you're allowed.
You're allowed to feel angry in my body.
What are we saying here? See, usually when you feel angry, you're going, God damn it, why am I angry? So you're like shaming the anger,
Yeah.
right? So, and that probably is a pattern you got from a parent, by the way,
Mm.
right? You shouldn't be angry. So you pick that up. That's not even yours,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So you got a coat of your mom's or something that says you shouldn't be feeling this, or your dad's or whatever, that you're wearing now that has nothing to do with you. And the voice is saying whatever you feel inside, which is a legitimate feeling, you shouldn't be feeling, right? So here's this fact coming up. I feel angry, and you have a voice on top of it saying you shouldn't. That's why you're angry. It's not dad,
Oh,
right?
yeah.
So if you were allowed to feel angry, if you were just totally present and anger was 100% allowed here,
Mm.
right?
I'm angry.
What's that?
I'm angry.
Yeah. But do you notice how much harder it is to be angry? By the way, it's allowed, but
Yeah,
part of the anger is the expectation it's not allowed,
Right.
right?
Mm.
Which is, do you get that?
Yeah. That's why I feel like I'm now rejoicing that I'm angry versus
Yes.
it's moving through me. I'm angry, It's
Yes. Enjoy that, right? And by the way, that's also a very, like, if it's channeled right and it's allowed, channeling anger is a very powerful, very strong masculine energy, right? Like, you're allowed to be angry in my body. Now you're directly connecting to yourself. And this is another thing. You're becoming more God's kid than your parents' kid. You understand what I mean by that? Your parents who were meant well, all of our parents meant well, but still they're a collection of egos that we had to learn what they thought in order to survive. So we're like, okay, so this person I can't get angry in front of, or I'll be shamed, or this person so you're doing whatever you can to keep yourself being fed and in a house that's over your head, even though now you don't actually need that. So another example I've used in my book, I hope I screw this up, is imagine if we went to another planet. Imagine we went to another planet and we were each raised by two 20-foot tall aliens, right? For 20 years. And they don't speak English and you have to figure out their language and they're horrifying. And this one alien comes home drunk and is yelling and swearing or whatever. And you learn to stay safe and not get hit. I need to be quiet. And let's say this other alien loves it when you tap dance. And every time you tap dance, she's showing her alien friends and look how great you'd eventually, if you're doing that for 20 years, you'd learn, okay, become a quiet person and, tap dance and I'll get love. And then you leave those two aliens and you go to the rest of the alien world. And now you're tap dancing and weirdly silent. And none of those aliens care about that. And you think that's you, but that's what you created for your safety. So there's an us that we created to thrive in a house when we were kids in a very specific way. And a trick we give ourselves is what we felt in that house is what the world is. So when you leave that house, you think the whole world is exactly the same. Like men are whatever dad was, women are whatever mom was, right? And you're expecting the same shame or abuse or the same abandonment from people. In fact, you actually look for people that feel close to that. Like, I felt abandoned by my dad, so I'm going to find someone who's like my dad and hang out with them so I can fix my dad and get him to see me. Do you get what I'm saying?
Yes.
Versus just being with someone who wouldn't abandon you or is more connected to themselves, right?
Right.
So the ego wants to switch all that. So if you understand what I'm saying with you is that, like, there's a you that's the story of who I am is legit when seen by mom and dad or siblings. And we can replace that now by who I am is this moment, and I'm present for this voice that wants to be seen. So even if mom and dad say you're becoming crazy, or I don't get you, or you don't make any sense, that doesn't matter, because they're not the factor of you feeling seen now.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. That feels good.
Your new thing is to be, I put out a video that's my favorite video I've ever released, and it's called Guided Meditation for Empaths. I put it out like 2 days ago, and it's for this work. It's really big. But if you meditate long enough and you listen, and you're saying you're allowed to feel angry in my body, after you said that and you celebrated anger for a minute, if you take another deep breath, Kyle, and feel in your body, tell me what you feel now. Like, now that it's allowed, you might feel sad. You might feel, what's that?
I actually feel like a little lighter.
Lighter? Okay.
Yeah.
So isn't that weird? The factor of, think about that. The factor is not of your lightness has nothing to do with if they see you.
Yeah.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I do.
It's a middleman you've created. And then finally, when they see you, you give yourself permission to see what they see.
Yeah.
But it's an unnecessary middleman we've all created that we don't need. There's a direct seeing of this inner child. And this is fifth density, in my opinion. This is the fifth dimension. This is fourth density, fifth dimension. This is you moving to a frequency where you're not just the reaction to circumstances because you're chasing someone on the external see me.
Yeah. And so this year is going to be the year of celebrating my emotions, because I am enough. And yeah,
I mean, it sounds so funny and airy-fairy to us, but it's like an actual holy shit thing. You start to learn how to alchemize pain. That stuff that's inside is all I know now. Every trigger inside, they still exist at times. They're getting overall smaller, but they're all a lie. And they come from entering a world you really think is the truth, because it's the only world you've seen. And life is trying to get you to see the truer world that you've never seen. So it's so unfamiliar. So it has to keep hammering and chiseling at the false life. That's why it gives us so many problems, is because you're living on the frequency of a lie that you've identified as you, but it's not you.
Yeah.
It's just the pattern you created to not have dad leave.
Oh, I love it. Thank you so much for that.
Yeah.
Powerful.
So I started thinking when we were talking about Legos, I'm so excited that I could talk to you about this, because, you know, I feel capable in a lot of ways in terms of just how I've handled my mind and my growth and my everything. But this sort of plagues me, and I feel like I could use help with it. Okay, it's like, even when you're trying to create your reality, I do a bunch of different things in that zone. Like, I even will record what my life looks like as if I'm remembering it. And for a long time, I played that before I would go to sleep. And it is a powerful thing. But there's something in me that questions, and I think this causes pain in my life, that I have such high expectations of things and people, and I want like the perfect relationship and the perfect this and the perfect sex and the perfect this and then I can understand why that's a pattern for me. And I think it's mainly tying back to my childhood, that my dad kind of just wasn't there. So I never learned how to love a human being that was my dad. It was like me fantasizing about things. So there's this part of my life.
So honest. I love it. You're such an honest person. That's beautiful.
none of me really wants to say this out loud, which is why I'm saying it, because it's the truth and it causes me pain and confusion. And, you know, I get a little lost sometimes thinking like, I don't know, you like the thought that you deserve everything you want. And then also sometimes I think what I want is this crazy fantasy that I created because I didn't have reality. And so my life was just a series of like having a crush on somebody from far away, making things up in my mind that was like a romantic movie every night when I was a child. I didn't even have a boyfriend until I was like 20. So I wonder if there's something in me that is broken in terms of just like my capability to be a real person who deals with real life and real love and real people.
What a vulnerable, beautiful question. First of all, take a deep breath in. Let me ask you this. Just tell me honestly, in any part of your body, anything you're just feeling in this moment.
I feel like sort of like buzzy, nervous energy in my shoulders and my chest and my heart, and probably just like some fear in my chest and kind of a little naked overall.
Okay. I want you to just let that be allowed for a second. Just let that be allowed, which is a new thing for you, I think. Right? Part of that perfect image, perfect life, perfect everything, partly is just to avoid these feelings. And I can feel like inside, if I was like to take a flashlight and go right into your soul, I can feel sadness in there. Right? I can feel in your chest sadness. I can feel in your stomach a little sadness. Can you feel what I'm feeling? You've had this image in your body of keeping everything together. And one thing I just want to bring to light is the freedom of letting anything fall apart. Anything that wants to fall apart will fall apart. Anything that you're supposed to hold on to is there. You're never trying to keep your arms on because they're just there. Like you're not, what do I do to not lose my arms today? Anything that wants to fall apart is not you. It's not real. Anything that wants to collapse is not you. But if you think it's real, you might avoid it and then try to create whatever image. And it's almost like you're skiing on top of the ocean of all of these emotions. And instead, we're just going to go into we're going to scuba dive into the depths of you. And just first of all, be with feeling like the voice that feels sad. Do you feel what I'm talking about? The energy that feels sad. If I was to ask it a key word, and maybe there's more than one that it feels, would it be lost, confused, abused, abandoned, unloved? Tell me anything like that or anything you have. Invisible.
Disappointment.
Okay. Take a deep breath in. And you're going to say to the energy in the body, you're allowed to feel disappointed in my body.
You're allowed to feel disappointed in my body.
See, that's unconditional love. This voice is hearing, even if I'm disappointed, you're here. It's used to you trying to avoid it, like achievement and getting somewhere and the picture perfect life and any escape from the feeling of disappointment. And now you're being present and being an unconditional love, like a real mother for this energy, right? That's under the illusion that it's not loved if it feels disappointed. So it's trying to hide it, and disappointment's allowed completely. Tell me what you feel when I say that and what you're feeling as you said that.
I just hear this thing, but pretend everything's okay.
Okay, check this out. To the energy in the body, everything's allowed to not be okay.
Yeah. It's like an old bubble up of a voice of like, look.
What's its fear? Tell me. Let's talk to it. See, you just made room for the next bubble up instead of even thinking of it as like, oh, there's that voice. It's like, no, you just made room. And in that room, here's this voice coming up. This voice came up. The bubble up of a voice that says what? What's its fear? We can hear it.
I think it's just pretend everything's okay. And if you fall apart a little bit, it's gonna all fall apart.
Okay. To that voice that I really want, first of all, to that voice directly, I want it to know that I hear it and I care about it. And I'm right here with it. So we're not even gonna like just push it away. I want to ask it, if things fell apart, what is its experience or what is its worry will happen if things fell apart? Tell us more. And then what? Everything falls apart. And then what? What's its fear?
You know what, the deeper then it bubbles up, it's like this fear that I'm missing something and that everybody else knows how to be a human but me.
Okay. Take a deep breath in. To that voice, you're allowed to be missing something. You're allowed to not know.
Oh, you're allowed to be missing something.
You're allowed to be lost in my body. Say that.
You're allowed to be lost in my body.
Yeah.
Mm.
Now tell me what it's feeling.
Oh, it feels like I could lay down and just rest. It seems relieving.
You know what? That's what it wants. That's probably today's highest calling for it. Meaning like it's probably wanted to think of this. It's been wanting to rest, and then you go achieve something, or you build a vision board, or you create the next life, or get the next marketing plan going, or whatever. And so imagine that it's been like in the woods and a rescue team just got it out of, look, you don't have to do something for a minute. It's going to be like 3 days in the hotel to recover, right? You're going to lie down and later today, you're going to relax. You're going to relax. Like, I want you to know that will ascend you more than the false productivity that you're creating to avoid the relaxing. I want you to know it's actually, believe it or not, will be more productive for you to do nothing for a little bit. Because it's a new channel for you. It's a channel that receives more, because all the doing was from a frequency of avoiding this, right? So all the frequency is like fear. It's all of that was in there. And it's only hard to see it because there's layers, right? Did you see? I was like, if it fell apart, then I'll be missing something. And it was like, okay, let's dig that out. And then they all collapse at the same time. So now you're just here. And I actually can feel a total legit physical change in both of you from that, right? But I can feel like you just got soft versus try, right? You just got, it's okay. You just got something that is so buried is actual feminine energy, like flow. And trust me, that's valuable too. Like you have an energy that flows and represents nature and feels and matters and is a mothering energy and a loving energy. One of the things in this time that is probably a controversial thing that I'll say, while I'm supporting everyone's right to be whatever they want, I want to just also offer that if your core essence is feminine, if that is your core essence, it's allowed, you know, and you don't have to bury it with a false, you know, make it happen. That you're in your core is that, and then fun things will happen and things you want will happen, but you'll still be adding so much more value in your core to the world than in this false, how do I market and get my plan out, and this purpose, and I can't be lost. No, man, you're here to be lost and be allowed to be lost and be missing. And people that look like they have it together, there's a great line that says, one of the reasons we're all suffering is we're comparing our behind the scenes to everyone else's highlight reel. Like,
Yes.
If you could hang with me for a while, you'd see me at times really stressing and sad. And then I'm like, okay, I'm transcending that. What do I need? But we're all in pain. I can't think of a speaker that the best speakers in the world I've worked with, and I've been backstage with them, and they're all in their head. We're all trying to figure out shit. How do I look? And then we come out like, ta-da. And it's like, oh, wait, hold on. That we're backstage. Do you guys think that was good? Was that good? I don't know if they liked it, So just so you know, the more lost you're allowed, the more of the person experience you get, and the more you can receive so much more, right? And it's funny because the false feminine that can be on the man is that please see me energy.
Yes.
Right? Like I know that for me, I've always had a belief up until about a year and a half ago that what I feel isn't legit till like my partner understands it. Do you get what I'm saying? Like that codependent feeling, like I need you to hear me, like, and then I realized I'm trying to be seen versus seeing myself and getting into my power.
And then it seems like the more you want to be seen, the less people want to see you.
Right. And vice versa. The more you're like, okay, I just see me and I don't need it. I've found ties to the exact same day that I'm like, okay, I see you here. I'm connected to this. I don't need that person to get it. And they will call me 10 minutes later and be like, you know what I didn't notice about you that I want to say? It's like, exactly. It is, dude, the world mirrors you so much. It is just showing you everything you think you want. If you want that too much, you're not ready for it because you're saying this thing completes me, which is an implication I'm incomplete if I don't have this thing. So this concept that like I have to have, or they shouldn't be saying that thing about me or whatever, these are here to show you all the little rules you have in you. And imagine that the world is a virtual reality game mirroring to you everything, even the voice that says, when will everyone else wake up? That sentence implies I'm helpless until everyone else wakes up. And so the virtual reality game will make everyone not wake up. You get what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
And so you're here. It's really down to you and God, right? And you are this. You'll stop being the inner child and the shame of your own inner child and the judgment of it and the fixing of it through achievement, right? You'll become the now. That's the safe space for the child to have evidence that it's love no matter what. And we're here to learn to love. And love is not just that verb love that we learn through Disney movies. Love is also the just seeing. Like it's just like you. Did you tear up, Leah, when you did that? Did you feel?
Oh yes. Oh yeah, I was crying. Actually,
that was the literal. Just it was seen, and because it was seen, it felt loved. It wasn't even you had to say I love you and I'm always here and I'm committed to you until death do us part. You're just seeing it, and it can't hide anymore. So it becomes tears, and it's even though there's more in there, what you just cried out is permanently alchemized. Do you understand that? Like I'm not saying there's not more. Yeah. But imagine that you have this is a David Hawkins kind of reference, but imagine you have like a mountain of darkness and we just purge some of it and it's a smaller mountain and you're becoming more connected to the now for those things. And then you merge more and more to you are the now and there actually is no me. There's no, where do the name Kyle was given to me. I'm not my body. It changes all the time. I'm not my beliefs. They change all the time. I'm this permanent now, and those things all exist within me.
Wow.
Right?
So if anyone in our collaborative, because you just guided us in such a profound experience, if anyone in our collaborative wants to be guided in that same experience, is that what the meditation for empaths will do for them?
Yeah, I mean, it's really good at that. It'll walk you through. You're basically, we want to let go of everything we need to know addictively and then connect to the I know. And that I know that doesn't have specifics. See, our ego wants to know specifics, right? The ego's like, what's my bank account going to be? What will they say about me? Do my parents get me? If we could let go of that, it's fine if my parents don't get me. I released control. Like it's really controlling them, by the way.
Yeah.
On the ultimate level, they don't have a right to not get me. Right? I've decided to come in and be triggered and say my parents should change. Like give your dad the gift of not understanding you.
Yeah.
Like, right? Like
it's
not up to me to control.
Yeah.
Give someone the gift of not having to not shit talk you.
Yeah.
Like you can shit talk me.
Yeah, because he's probably feeling that anger. And that might actually be why he's asking me what's wrong.
Well,
I might be stepping into those situations with past anger
Right.
based off, yeah.
I mean, I think there's some truth to be said for that. It might bother you too, because there's some truth in there. Like if somebody says you're a pink elephant, you don't really care, but maybe there are some things wrong. And maybe that bothers you
I'm not sure.
too. Like
Yeah.
sometimes when something is wrong, I don't really like if people notice it. I
Right,
mean,
right,
but
right.
perhaps.
Yeah, if that, I mean, of course, there's wall-to-wall truth in that. If someone said to you, "You're made of spaghetti," you just think they're crazy.
Right.
But if
Yeah.
they say something that you haven't healed, it triggers you because you have this deep-rooted belief that that's true.
Yeah.
And the other thing is, I also see it like this energy, like you're ascending and you still have a connection to the world you're leaving. So
Yeah.
imagine that there's an energy like you're moving to a different planet that sees things differently, but you're still not done mourning the old planet. And the old planet is where they don't quite get you. So you're still got one foot in that, like maybe dad will get me one day. And
Yeah.
Right.
and like, imagine if we just slowly but surely embrace the new planet, and my dad's allowed to not get me.
Yeah.
My spouse is allowed to not hear me, my whatever. And none of these things are, people always mistake these with, so I'm saying, so live with them, or you know what I'm saying? Do whatever you want with that. You can still forgive someone and not hang out with them.
Yeah.
Right. You know, but at the same time, there is such a power that we have available that I feel like very few have touched on. It's very like, you know, the motivation side. So we're powerful when we get to this money, or when we get to this goal, or when we have this many followers. It's a much higher frequency than the old only victim mentality. So it serves such a purpose. But the highest that I know of so far is just the connection to me in the now, and the noticing and the releasing of anything that I think shouldn't be happening. There's a great Byron Katie quote that says, "That was supposed to happen. You know how I know? Because it did."
It did.
Right?
Yeah.
And so like I have it with all kinds of stuff. I'll be like, I can think of someone that will put me down or attack me, or I felt triangulated against with people really close to me. And then I'll have this part of me that's like, they'll come around or they'll see it. And then I was just like, no, they don't have to. Like, that's me trying to I'm still got one foot in how they're living, and that my worthiness is still based on them seeing me. And, you know, this part of you that hopes they get you is also is killing you. It's like you what if you just actually found there is a true world available that's not familiar, you've never seen it, that doesn't need any human being to understand you, that actually is like that really doesn't. I mean, you might feel some triggers there for a minute, but you can get really present with it and it's fine.
Yeah.
To the level of all the way to like anything other than just you actually coming into my house with a gun. Like you have a fight or flight in your body that's designed for actual emergencies, but we fill it with tons of future visions that aren't even life or death all day. Like your parents not getting you, you know, or when you felt abandoned as a child, we're activating the fight flight response that's designed so that we run out if the house is on fire. But we're using it for, I might not make money this year. Like we use it for, you know, my friends will make, you know, say something bad about, we use it for nothing things.
Yeah. And I just want to thank you so much, because I feel like all of these things are coming up for me to let go of. And that process you just took me through and laid it through is going to allow me to, you know, like view everything that's coming up through that lens.
Like a huge next step for you would be just be with, like, if something triggers you, you first go through the stage. So like the first thing would be go through the thing, this triggered me. Then we dismiss this. Step 2 is, what do I feel right now? You get what I'm saying? So that we don't have this thing to escape the feeling. So the first thing is, that pissed me off when the guy at work said that. Okay, boom. What are you feeling? And now I'm here with you and what you're feeling. You will discover there is always a tie to what pissed you off and was an unseen thing as a child. It's almost always childhood too. It's much more like when you were 5, right? Because, you know, like for instance, the sentence "keep it together" for Leah, right? I heard you say, I got to keep it. I can't keep it together, something like that. you might have tied to it when you were a kid. If I don't keep it together, random example, my parents will divorce again. If I don't keep it together, maybe the day you felt if dad walked out and never came back. Do you get what I'm saying? These things, these happen on a day that you could say to yourself, if I see, kids don't understand parents have their own blueprints. So kids go, this is because I'm blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Right. So I need to figure out what I did wrong to not feel that pain again, even though it could be my dad's an alcoholic. It could be whatever.
Oh,
So the kids put on them, that hurts so much. And I can't just be processing at 5 years old that I'm feeling abandoned right now. So I'm going to shove it down. So picture as a child, we're like volcanoes that we put the lid on, and then we create an identity over it that's job is to keep that lid on. So, okay, I'm going to stay quiet. I'm going to achieve like crazy. That could have been yours, Leah. You could have been like, what do I have to do? I'm going to achieve like crazy.
Yes.
Then, and now what you just cried would be like, okay, let's take the 5-year-old's lid off and let the volcano come out a little bit. Because this character you created was blocking that. So when we let the character go, or for you, Kyle, what your parents thought go, we're now isolating that volcano when you're a kid.
It's an answered prayer that we are doing this together, because I had this desire and talk to Kyle to just say, I would love to actually be sharing what is really going on. Because that's how I feel like myself. I don't want to be the kid. I mean, really, I think when you backtrack it, even, when I was little, I was 3 and I almost died. And so it was just crazy insanity. My mom was really afraid. She sat in a chair next to me for just days in a row and didn't sleep. And I could tell everybody was afraid, but no one really talked to me. And after my surgery, when I was saved, they came in, and I remember I was 3 years old. They took my blood, and I remember thinking, like, I was protecting my mom. I was protecting everybody. Don't cry. And then the next day, I kept a running count for a week as a 3-year-old, like a soldier. It's day 2. You didn't cry yesterday. You're not going to cry today. And that was sort of my family style. My mom had that too.
If you did cry to that little girl, what was it worried would happen? Would mom leave?
Mom wouldn't be okay. I want to protect mom. She's upset. And then, with my dad, there's stuff going on, and then he leaves. So she's kind of just pretending everything's okay, but she's really falling apart at a certain point.
But one thing I wonder, because I can see something here to that could still be brought to light, is if you cried, I know we're protecting mom, but still, believe it or not, that child does it out of it's doing it for others, but it's still out of selfishness, right? Like, I got you for mom so she doesn't. And I'm just curious if you can nail, is it she doesn't walk out of my life, if she doesn't shame me, if she doesn't hit me? Do you get what I'm saying? Because if a 3-year-old had me as a parent, I don't think they'd intuit that they can't, I don't know, but I don't think they'd intuit that they can't cry around me because I can't handle it. I would be a space of presence that, trust me, Vivi seems to have no problem with it. So there's different levels of space. So did your mom feel, even as you grew up and you met her, did you feel that you were right? Like, was she someone who can't handle emotions?
No, I know mom was never going to leave. Never had that feeling, and wasn't anybody who ever yelled at me or hit me or anything.
That's really interesting, because at 3 years old, you intuited it's not safe to cry.
I think I could tell that she was, I felt like she was, like, no one ever said to me, like, this is scary, this is awful. It was all just kind of like, maybe it seemed like the rule to be strong and pretend like everything was
that how she had been? Was everyone in the house being fake strong to not burden anyone else's feelings?
She was definitely always fake strong. She protected everybody's emotions at the cost of her own, for sure.
So then she covered her own crying.
I think that, I try to remember, like, her face and stuff. I can remember her sitting there. She probably wouldn't cry in front of me, possibly to not upset me.
Wow.
That could be definitely something my mom would do. She would probably cry when I went to sleep and probably just have a strong, she was
What?
definitely very like a soft person,
Mhm.
but I think she would hide her emotions to not upset me.
What a great lesson for parents that are like trying to keep it together for their kids, that the
Yeah.
kids learn that. You're
Yes.
not, you know what I mean? You're not keeping it
Mm.
together. You're teaching your
I
kids to keep it
know.
together for your kids,
Mm.
and everyone sacrifice themselves and go down
Wow.
the line for the, you know, and teach. But the kids don't ever hear what you say. They become what you do. So,
Yes.
you know, if you're not healing your own stuff, then, you know, you're teaching them repress your stuff.
Mm.
And even if you're and then when we tell them, while we're repressing our own shit, we tell them you can be anything and you can live your life.
Right.
Yeah.
There's this extra guilt on top of it because they can't physically do it because they're repressing all their shit. So there's this also so then they'll just become a parent who represses their shit and tells their kids you can do anything. And
Yes.
everyone lives this repressed bullshit life and doesn't do what they want. You know what I'm
Mm.
saying?
Yes.
But one of the things I hear is you actually felt, this is a big thing to realize, you at 3 years old were more responsible for your mom's emotions than she was for yours.
Mm.
Like
Mm.
you're a caretaker of your parent when you're 3. Like you're here, screw your feelings. I'm here for these people who've developed feelings, who are way older, who are whatever. And
Yeah.
I'm immediately at 3 enslaved emotionally to making sure they're okay.
Mm.
Yeah.
And I would imagine unconsciously, without even knowing any specifics, that must be tied to survival. If I don't, I as a survival, these are the people that feed me and stuff. If I don't look like everything's okay, something will happen. They won't feed me or I'll be homeless or something like that, because there'd be no real reason to hold in that pain. If you're in physical pain in the hospital and you're holding it together for them, there must be something that the body goes, if other people cry, you know, there must be something that it thinks. If other, and without even knowing, we could just say, first of all, to that inner child, take a deep breath in, Leah, and let's say this to it. It's okay if I make mom cry.
Mm.
It's okay if I make mom cry.
Because that energy has never, ever thought of that. What if you want to be you and your mom can't handle it? What if you want to be who you truly are? What if you want to move out? What if you want to become a singer, but she wanted you to always be a doctor? Like, what if you, you know, just as random examples, that might make her cry.
Mm.
And we don't need to enable her to not feel anymore.
Yeah, I feel like I had the feeling and I just took it on that I felt like she was handling a lot with my dad. And I just, from being a little kid, like I was such a smart kid. I feel like I had an adult mind when I was just little, where I remember everything. And I think I wanted to be, I mean, my mom really never put anything on me. She was never even the kind of parent that said, like, you have to do good in school or you have to do this or be this or anything. It was like I just absorbed this responsibility to just.
She did put
Actually.
something on you, though. She put on you her repressed emotions are your responsibility because she didn't purge them herself.
Yeah.
You get
I
what I'm
feel
saying?
that.
She
I
didn't
do.
release them. So
I do.
you kept
Yes.
it on, but, you know, had she released them, you would have also not felt that. Like, you must have
Yes.
felt this protective energy of her, right? And so what if that little girl can stop protecting her parents? And what if she can stop protecting everyone else?
Mm.
And trust me, by the way, if you're scared, like, to say your feelings because of that, and think Kyle can't handle that,
Mm.
right? The shut off character that wants to pretend everything's okay, tell me if I'm right, Kyle, would be less exciting than the you that's just open and lost in front of him so he can step into his power even more.
Yeah, that's what's been coming up for us.
Yeah.
Yeah, I actually have been very good at being emotive and lost lately.
Yes. Yes. And I just
Which
want to
is great.
support that. That's your strength, because only the character is lost. Only the ego is lost. God's not lost. The now is not lost. Your
Yes.
truth is not that. That doesn't collapse or go down. Only ego could be lost, and all that implies is that when I'm not lost, I have this expectation of a future, right? You not being lost is an expectation, right? That's going to be broken. Like, I'm not lost because here's my business plan, or I'm not lost because I've arbitrarily decided I found my purpose, and it's that I'm supposed to be a baker. And then it's like, what if that falls apart though? Now your purpose is, what if this is your purpose? What if falling apart is your purpose? What if being lost is your purpose? Right?
I love that. And I feel like I've lost touch with that.
And you're so that's not a caught shame thing. What if this is, in other words, we're bringing that to light, but I don't want to make that bad. So check this out. You're allowed to have lost touch with that.
That is actually great.
Right?
Yes.
That's what I'm saying. Because like, even when we test it, here's what a lot of people do during breakthroughs. They'll be like, oh my God, why didn't I know this earlier? And I'm not saying that's what you were doing, but it had the same tone. Yeah. Right. Like, why didn't I know this earlier? It's like, wait a minute, we just found the new portal and we're already going, I should have known it earlier to escape the portal.
Yes.
Right?
I totally know what you're saying and know that it's like I feel like I have known this, and I lost this for a little bit.
Yeah.
Like, I feel so relieved. Like, I feel like myself, because this is who I love to be. For so many years, I just haven't been like this person where like I'm totally together when I'm not. It feels so good to just be like, this is how I am. Because the truth is, I'm mostly really great. And then also there's this shit going on. I want to just be that. I don't want to be some fake like character that I used to be, where things were really bad, like behind closed doors, and then like, oh, everything's great.
I think people can learn too more from the authenticity of everything, you know.
Yeah. And by the way, Leah, was that something that happened when you were a kid? Things are happening behind closed doors. We go outside to the public, everything's fine.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Things were really bad. And then things were personally, in my family. And then, then there's a point where like they kind of get better and stuff. And then I'm not well for years. I have like a long thing of addiction stuff. So I am personally completely unwell, but sometimes at least showing up in the world where I'm still performing well, at least for a while. Until it descends into total chaos.
Well, as the world wakes up, I want to point out that the more we're creating an image and trying to look good and not bringing our truth to light, the smaller available audience there is, because everyone's waking up and will see through anything that's just, we're going to show you how to achieve, everything's great here.
Right.
I mean, you falling apart in front of everyone is huge permission. You know what I'm saying? It's huge. You collapsing, you being lost, you being, now I'm not saying, and I also am worried now that sounds like, I just picture you having a moment where you're trying to like, grab the camera. This is perfect. Hey, everyone, like,
hi, I'm totally messed up and lost.
Yeah, it's me. I'm exactly like, I see that too. It's like, now you're bringing your lostness into your show, but instead we want to bring your show into your lostness. We want to bring, your, like, I want to hierarchy you. I had a client recently. I talked about this today. I don't know if you saw today's call. I know people watching this don't know. It's a different
day. I did.
So one of the things I've heard a lot of clients say, is I say, well, what do you want? And their answer is like, I want to affect 10 million, blah, blah, blah. I want to have, impact 400,000 teen women. I want to whatever. That's great. That's a cool thing to have a purpose that's in service. But imagine, this is the analogy I use, and it's a little offensive, but maybe it's not, I don't know. But imagine if John Candy, the famous overweight comedic actor of the 80s, imagine his biggest goal is to get everyone fit. Imagine if a person who's like 400 pounds, like, my goal is to get the world fit. but they're not doing it for them.
Yeah.
Their goal is they're going to go out and make everyone else get fit. And you're looking at them like, why? What do you mean? Like, why is that your purpose? Because you start to realize, I see, you want to get everyone fit so you don't have to look at that you're not. Right. And if someone wants to really change the world, that person suddenly getting really fit would change so much more. Right. And then after that, create the change on the external. But the thing that we got to work on is our hierarchy. Like internally, we have a hierarchy. A lot of people's hierarchy is just watch Netflix or just be loved by anyone or whatever. And then there's a level where it's like, okay, I'm going to be in purpose to the world. And then down here is like this kind of last minute thing of like, I'll meditate when I can, or I'll work out when I can, or I'll connect to myself, or I'll be healthy or forgive when I can. And this is cart before the horse. And we want to put the heart before the course. Look at
that. Yeah. Be happy now.
Vivi's mom, Christy, actually said that line. She goes, heart before the course. I was like, can I use that? I'll give you credit. That's crazy. So if your hierarchy, so my hierarchy is not to shift everybody. That happens. But I notice that if my hierarchy is to know what I truly am, that's my goal. That is an always changing, ongoing goal that everything going on in your life can fit into. Like, so someone's attacking you or whatever. I'm here to know what I am. Oh, it's bringing up something in me. I'm here to release it. Right. Oh, I'm shifting someone and it's amazing. That's a byproduct versus like, if your goal is to shift someone and they don't shift, which involves them, or they leave or they run away because they're scared of your teaching or whatever, then you'll shame yourself because you didn't hit your goal. But your goal is still half codependent on what other people do. So if we release this, my goal is to be in service as the highest, and go, my goal is to meet myself, or to find God fully, or to surrender, or to evolve, or to alchemize, and then accidentally make under it, and from that, I'll bring that to the world. I believe that's the difference between the people that are the greatest in the world and that kind of second tier, everyone's a coach.
Yeah.
Yes.
Know what I mean? Like, kind of thing. It's like, what are you? Like imagine if Michael Jordan, this is in the beginning of my book, The Illusion of Money, but imagine if Michael Jordan was working at like an Applebee's and he's like, I wish I could do basketball, but I got to make money here. And you're like, dude, follow the thing. Don't you want to know what you are? Like, I have this curse and blessing of seeing every single human being at whatever, Mr. Rogers, Oprah level, Gandhi level. You get what I'm saying? Every person. So I'm like excited about the highest form of what you are versus the highest form of how many followers you can get. Or I don't even care about that. I'm like, could you imagine if the world tapped into the greatest version of themselves? So the way to do that is I got to find the ultimate version of me. Right. And then the content seems to be getting clearer and more really a developed voice that's coming through. And there's less and less of the story of Kyle delivering it now, because I'm more and more connected to the truth of me. That connection to the all that isness is actually you. The thing that's purging that we call me isn't you. It's just a pattern. Because if you cried it out and you're still here, then it never was you.
Wow.
Because you're the space it cried out of. Like earlier today, you were like Leah was a giant achiever, right? And then she said, it's okay if you have no idea what to do or you're lost or whatever we said, and cried. And now you tell me if I'm wrong, you don't feel it nearly as strongly, right? So that's not me. When we say I'm a procrastinator, I'm a worrier, that's not you. You get what I'm saying? So our I is attached to the wrong thing. Right. And that's why we're scared to let go of it, because if I'm the problem, then I can't purge myself. So I'm going to stay here. None of that's you. You're the I of the now. And that's it. There's nothing, there's no you.
I feel like this session just set us both on a new trajectory. And I'm so excited to work through all these things as they come up. So I also want to just say, there are more Kai Legos that I've envisioned that have you in them. So I won't be, I won't be surprised if we see each other again. And then the other thing I just want to say, is there anything we can do as a Heart Coherence Collaborative to support you on your journey? How can our members follow you?
Oh, thank you. Well, I created a thing. This is like a giddy thing. So, I started out as a stand-up comic. I was a stand-up comic for 20 years. I had 2 Comedy Central specials and everything. Being a stand-up comic, one of the things it did on a hard level was train me to look for and make fun of the bullshit in the world.
Yes.
And when I entered our field, I noticed a lot of things, like I was like all excited to be in the authentic space, and then found it to be not that,
Right.
and watched as people really strategized hard sells, and they were able to do it, that they could sell like enormous things, and I'd be backstage with them and they'd be pacing and strategizing and all these different things. And I noticed, if I have to figure out the right way to sell something, then I'm not excited about it. And so I was like, I really actually am like, how could I give more content than ever that's so exciting, that's almost nothing, that's really low? Because I know when we see the guys with the Lamborghini in the garage or whatever, there's like, they're going to tell you their thing, but I swear to God, the frequency of what we're delivering is so big, and what we're delivering is coming through this now, and I feel that's bigger than the highest thing. And the now is not very expensive. The now is available and free. So I created this thing called the Absolutely Everything Pass, and it's a membership site. So aside from that, there's probably 500 videos on YouTube you can see me in. We have a membership site called the Absolutely Everything Pass. It's almost all of my past 2 and more day events, all available. And then also there's a giant community of people, and we do live events. I do a live event on Sunday, and I do a live event on Wednesday. I'll do a meditative oneness event on Sunday, and I'll answer people's questions, bring people on and shift them on Wednesday. There's a massive growing community here. There's thousands of people on it now, and they've become this amazing community of people, and it's $29 a month. And you can cancel anytime. There's not like you're locked into a year or anything. There's no way this won't pay for itself over. Like, it's so much more expensive to not get it. I'm telling you.
I can testify to that.
Yeah, because you start losing your addictive vibrations. In fact, right now we're doing a whole series on money, and we're talking about 100 different ways that meditation will actually change your money. Now, most people say, I don't care about money, but they don't move like that. Because they would love to meditate, but they got to go to a job they hate. They would love to be with you, but they got to pay these bills, And so they say, I don't care about money, but they move like they're enslaved to it. And the universe moves based on how you move. So I'm trying to point out that, what if you're trying to go fix your money and avoiding your you is actually what's so expensive? And what if you meditated and we did this kind of soul stuff and worked on ourselves, and it actually happens to bring in a ton of money also, because you're on a frequency that's way higher to it. We're doing that as a series right now that anyone can jump on at any time and join us on the Wednesday night calls. And then we also, on the Absolutely Everything Pass, have free 2-day online full events every few months. April 23rd and 24th, there is a money event that comes, this all just comes with it. And so these used to be events we did charge thousands of dollars for, and now they're just like, come on over. And you'll have like 1,000 people there shifting their lives, and you'll go through the whole weekend and go, everything's different. It's like your whole trajectory of your life is different after these events. So join us. It costs very, very little. And I promise you, you'll make money.
I can testify to that. And really, it's one of the happiest things to see on my credit card statement. I've never been so over delivered on value for what I paid for something, because I've done all the courses. There's so much, all of the calls. And I feel like even if I stop checking in for a little while, because I get busy, and I just still love to pay. I want to pay you forever for what you've given me. And I feel like it will never be enough.
I have no way to respond to that sentence without looking crazy. Like, I want you to pay me forever. No, I want you to have as much, I'm here to find the highest gift of myself and bring it. And you're supporting an amazing team, and you're also supporting charity. Like, we donate, and we do all kinds of different things like that. So,
Yeah.
but you're helping us grow our audience. And I'm here to, as a byproduct, shift the collective by shifting myself. So, so hopefully, people are saying on the guided meditation for empaths video that I just put out, I really realized it's the first video that I actually, in some ways, don't care how many views it gets, because it's the most truth I've ever delivered from myself. Like, I'm just like, the right people will see it.
Yeah.
And people are writing, this is the greatest thing. They'd never seen anything like this. And I think that I forget what I was going to say about that, but I remember feeling like, I know what it is. It's that because I think we've really trained ourselves as humans to not find or care about the highest version of ourselves. Like we're leaving, like there are restaurants in LA that are the most incredible, organic, vegan, amazing, healthy restaurants. And quite a bit of them are empty. And then there's lines for McDonald's around the block. We'll cut down trees that are giving us oxygen left and right. We'll avoid our own meditation, which takes us to a higher frequency. We'll like not knocking anyone, but we'll choose In Sync over Miles Davis. Like we live in a world that's looking for not the greatest. And so I want to offer people to find the greatest you, find your favorite speakers, find your favorite, like, don't get married to the old mediocre way anymore. Let go of the job you don't love and trust a little bit. Find a frequency that's higher. I'm not saying just go blindly, but like, you have no idea what the hell you're capable of if you're just connected to the frequency of what you are. And my goal is not to just get people to bring in a bunch of money. My goal is to get people to become the ultimate version of themselves. Like there's a you that's like a Prince, like the singer. Like there's a you that's like, there's a Michael Jackson in every person. There's a, whatever, that version of them.
I feel that from you too. Like I've never felt it from any other, teacher. It's so authentic, man. So this has been such a great session.
Sometimes it enslaves me. Sometimes I'll be like, don't you see this? You don't have to do it. Like, and I'll be like, sorry, never mind. Go shit on yourself for a while and we'll talk. Yeah. But thank you for that. Thank you for the kind words.
Yeah. So everyone go sign up for the all everything pass.
Absolutely,
Absolutely
everything pass.
Absolutely everything pass. So that's on kylecease.com, or you can also
we'll put a link in.
evolvingoutloud.com.
We'll also post that meditation too. We'll
please. Thank you.
Yeah, we will.
And also I have 2 books out. I hope I screw this up is awesome, but I think The Illusion of Money is my favorite one.
It's so good.
Yeah.
So check out The Illusion of Money if you
want.
And
it's also great on Audible. It's funny.
Funny, I know. I deliver it kind of crazily.
That is true. Because some Audible books are, if they don't have the right narration.
Penguin Audio presents.
Yeah, they can be really terrible. Like you're like, oh, I can't do this. But
he said.
Yeah, it's
just like, oh man.
Yours is good. Yeah.
I made it. I mean, the I Hope I Screw This Up book on Audible is like a sketch. Like we brought in sound effects and bits and actors and shit. Like it was really a funny thing. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yes.
Awesome. So thank you so much. Love to have you back on. And if you ever think of how we can support you on our journey, just reach out and we'll be there for you.
Absolutely. We're all here. We're all connecting. And I know we'll see you in April. And I'm looking forward to it.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Thank you so much, Kyle.
It hurts. I hope. And by the way, I want to thank you for being so vulnerable and bringing your vulnerability to the screen and not keeping that image. It's such permission. Like people need to know that they can cry and fall apart. We're all human. I cry almost every day. I'm releasing something almost every day.
That's a lot of crying, Kyle.
Thank you for holding that space for us too.
Yes.
I can't imagine not. It's so amazing. Once you see this thing, you can't unsee it. It's just life now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, we're sending love to the Heart Coherence Collaborative and just thank you.